And when I was in the middle of mine, I didn't have hope, and I had accepted the fact that I was drinking and it was going to kill me, and that it was just hanging on until I died. And at that point, that's where the selfishness comes out, is like the world would be better without me anyways. And it's a very selfish thing to think or say, because there's so many people who love you, and you know these people. You also figure out how much people actually care about you.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the LYFE Podcast. We just try to talk with people and hear their stories, hear what we can learn and how we can grow. So I've got my new friend, Jeff, I met you the other day, but from the golf, did we meet from the golf course? Is that?
The first time I met you was at LYFE Public House.
Yeah. But I mean,
the first time.
The recently connected.
I spoke to you. We talked at the golf course, and then I reached out to you just to see if there's anything we could do, like to collaborate, work together.
Yeah. And it was, dude seemed like a cool dude. So, and then just hearing your story, I kind of wanted to bring you on and just share a little bit about your journey and, ups and downs and things you've learned along the way.
Sure.
So let's get to it.
Okay.
Good deal. So let's just start basically back at the beginning. It seemed like you might have moved around a little bit when you were younger, but settled in Mukilteo area. Is that right?
Yeah, I was born in a tiny little town in California called Martinez. And then my mom moved to Corpus Christi and lived there for a second, and then moved up to Washington, and basically lived in Washington most of my life, and grew up in Mukilteo, which is on the water north of Seattle, about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, and then we, in talking when we were, I think you went to the same high school that two of my nieces and nephew went, Mariner High School over
Mariner
there.
High School, yeah.
Okay, now is that in Linwood? Or where's that at exactly?
Technically, it's in the Mukilteo School District, but it's in Everett.
Okay, yeah, because I know that my brother-in-law and his family live like right on the border. I think like literally across the street is Everett, and then across the other street is Linwood. So. Right. Okay, good deal. That makes sense then. So what was high school like? Talk to me. What did you do in high school?
I was shy in high school. I was not one of the popular kids. Did okay in school. Funny thing is, in high school, I always thought that I was not as smart as other people, and I didn't think I did that good. And then for a job, I had to get my high school transcripts. And I looked, and I graduated with like a 3.69
That's good.
GPA, and I thought, like, what? I was smarter than I thought I was. I did okay. It was not a 4.0, but I did okay. High school was, it was fine for me. There was no issues in high school. Did everything everybody else does. I skipped a little bit my senior year. Didn't really enjoy being there, but I did okay.
Yeah, good deal. And then kind of forwarding that to you had mentioned when we were talking earlier, because I want to kind of get to the crux of what we're talking about today. Okay. But you were working for a company. What company was that?
I was working for a company, Precor. And they make fitness equipment, treadmills, ellipticals, things like that. I was working in their distribution warehouse in Everett, kind of near Boeing is where their warehouse was located.
Okay. And were you married at the time?
Yes, I was married. We had a house in Linwood. I had two small children. They're much bigger now. Yeah, and things got a little worse while working there. I'd always been a drinker, and some would say excessively or troubled or a problemed drinker. And then there was one moment, almost remember the day. I had a counterpart there, and him and I were equals. He made a little more money than I did. He didn't do anything at work. I had to work my butt off just to make sure that everything ran smoothly. Yeah. And finally one day I just said, forget it. I'm done caring, because why? If my counterpart, they don't care what he does, why would they care what I did? And I started drinking a lot, like on the way to work. And then when I was drinking on the way to work, then I would drink on the way to work and then at lunch. And then it was on the way to work and then at lunch and then right after work. And then it got to the point where I was just drinking from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. And then it got worse from there. And it was just continually drinking 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And so there was so basically it sounds like you went through a period of time where you always probably had alcohol in your system.
Yeah, there was a time period of probably 4 years where, no joke, there was not one moment where I did not have some alcohol in my system for probably 4 years.
So what did that What did that do to the rest of your life? Working, marriage, relationships, kids, that kind of stuff.
At first I thought it was controllable. I thought, I'm drinking a lot, but I'm still going to work. I'm still being a father and a husband, and I'm still getting things done. And I thought it was something I could control. Then slowly, like over time, it got worse and worse to where I'd miss a day of work. And then I'd miss a couple days in a week. And I always came up with some type of excuse. Or I wouldn't come home right after work because I'd be at a bar. Slowly, baby steps, it progressively got worse and worse to where I was not present. Present maybe physically, but not emotionally present as a father or a husband, something my kids didn't deserve. And life just started getting worse and worse. My health went downhill quickly. Once it hit a point, it just dropped. And that's what ended me up in the hospital the first time. Drinking, my red blood cell count was down to 10. It's supposed to be, I don't know, between 80 and 150 or something like that. Oh,
wow.
It was not good at all. I was very sick. Ended up in the hospital one time and then got out of the hospital and thought, okay, that was not fun, but I can still control this. I was lying to myself saying, this is okay. I had to go to the hospital. I got out of the hospital. I feel okay. I can just go back to my regular, scheduled program is drinking 24 hours a day. And that proved to not work. On my second trip to the hospital, it was scarier. I was in an intubated coma for a week, and I didn't realize till I woke up and they asked me if I knew what day it was. And I said, Tuesday? And they said, no, it's Wednesday. I was like, oh, I was just out for a day? And they said, no, you were out for over a week.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was like, whoa, I had no idea. And
that'd be scary.
Yeah, it was scarier for my family and loved ones.
Yeah, I would imagine. For everybody involved, it's got to be scary.
Yeah, that's, they call it the trail of wreckage when drinking, now that I'm in the program. And thinking about what my family and what my dear friends had to see, the doctors weren't sure I was going to wake up. They didn't know I was going to come out of that coma. They didn't know. So they had to tell my family, you might want to say your goodbyes because this might be it. And then I did wake up, and waking up wasn't great either. I basically had to learn to walk and how to feed myself with a fork and a knife, how to pick up, a bottle of water and take a drink. I had to do all of that stuff before they'd release me from the hospital. And then I got out of the hospital, and it was scary, and people had to come say their goodbyes, and I went back to drinking after that. Yeah.
It just didn't know. Did you... the questions I guess, did you feel like you could control it again, or was it?
Yeah, foolishly enough, I thought maybe I could still control this. Well, what am I doing wrong here? Obviously not drinking wasn't an option. I was still going to drink, but I just had to figure out how to do it and not end up in the hospital. Well, that proved to be impossible, but I still thought I could do it. And, and honestly, Dave, I hated it. The last year of my drinking or more, I would take a drink and then I'd set it down, and then I would scream in my car. I'd be screaming because I was so mad, so angry. And then I would take another drink. And it was what's wrong with me? I had the same question everybody else did. How can you keep doing this when it's destroying your family? When it's just, you have 2 young children. How can you possibly make this decision to do this? And I didn't have an answer to that question. It wasn't until I went to treatment for 2 months in California. And the day I got there, I sat down. The day I walked into, you're in detox for a week, and then they put you in a different house. And I sat down on my first class, and the first thing I heard, the person leading the class, was the scientific reason why people take a drink when they don't want to. And it's because it plays tricks on your brain, and it makes it so alcohol is more important than water, food, procreation. It's the top of the chain. You feel like you can't live without it. And not everybody has that. Unfortunately, I do. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. But so that was it. I had an answer to one question. And so for 2 months in treatment, I was there for 1 month, and they wanted to send me home, and I told them I wasn't ready. It was very expensive to be there. So they could tell that I was serious, because I was. And they let me stay there on a scholarship for another month. And then I came home, I believe it was on Valentine's Day, 2020. Yeah, the beginning of COVID, when COVID shut everything down.
Wow.
And I was pretty solid in my strength and my ability to not drink, and I was really headed down a good path. I was going to meetings every day, meeting with my sponsor. I was going to the gym twice a day. I was motivated to do these things. And then COVID shut everything down, and I couldn't go to anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. You could go to the liquor store, but you couldn't go to a gym.
Yeah, I still haven't understood that.
You couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go to meetings. I couldn't meet with my sponsor. Nothing. I couldn't do any of that. And I wasn't prepared for that. And so yet again, I started drinking again, and I got kicked out of my house. We were planning on selling our house, and we were planning on moving to North Idaho. That was the plan. But I was kicked out before that could happen. Like, paid for a hotel room for the night for me, and then after that, it was spent a week in a Airbnb, and then after that, she said, my ex-wife said, I don't want you to come home. And so I had to find a place to live. Thankfully, my mom had a condo in Everett, and I said, can I live with you? Because, I'm not invited back home. Yeah. And she let me live there, but I was still drinking. And I got pulled over, and I wasn't drinking, but I got pulled over because I was driving in the turn lane down the main road. Describe it like driving on 95, but driving in the turn lane for a mile and a half. I didn't realize what was going on. I got pulled over, and they asked me what was wrong, and I told them that I was going to go to the hospital the next day, and they said, I think you're going to the hospital now. So they called an ambulance, and an ambulance came, took me to the hospital, and that was, that was the last trip I made to the hospital before I hit my rock bottom, and I was able to say, no more, and I was willing to do whatever it took at that point.
So this was your third trip, or third,
hospital.
being admitted to the hospital.
Yeah. And
were all of those basically due to alcoholism?
Yeah.
Just kind of destroying your body?
Just destroying my body. Yeah,
so
alcohol.
What was that third trip like? What happened during that third time?
Third trip to the hospital was terrifying. It was COVID. Nobody could come see me. I was in the hospital, and they were pumping me full of all kinds of drugs to try to combat liver failure and kidney failure. And it was the moment that I made my mind up that I was done drinking seriously forever for good was a doctor came in, this gal. She was nice enough. She came in and she sat down and she said, Mr. Cross, I think you need to come to grips or accept that we're using experimental drugs on you to stop your liver from failing and stop your kidneys from failing. And if those two fail, then just one after another, your organs shut down. And we're trying with experimental drugs to stop that. And she said, if you make it through the night, you have about a 50-50 chance of walking out of the hospital. And at that moment, that was the turning point for me.
Wow. I mean, hearing someone say, if you make it through the night, that had to be freaky. I don't know what the proper word is, but that, if you make it, that's like, dude, we're seriously life and death. It's like tomorrow I might be alive or I might not be alive.
Right. Yeah, it was terrifying. But like I said, at that moment, I made the resolve. I was like, I'm done. I'd already been to treatment. I'd learned a whole bunch of stuff about how to stay sober and the things to do. So I was like, okay, I know how to do this stuff. I know how to. I just have to really make a decision to never pick up a drink again, ever. So after that moment, another doctor came in, and I told that doctor, the previous doctor who told me this story about the experimental drugs and if you make it through the night, I said, I don't ever want to talk to her again. And she saved my life. But I said, I don't ever want to talk to her again. I only want to talk to people who are going to speak of hope, who are going to talk about things are looking better, your numbers are looking good. I don't want to hear anything about not walking out of the hospital from anybody. And, it's interesting, during that stay in the hospital, my friend Shauna, I've been friends with her since I was 14 years old, and she called the hospital and got my room, and she talked to me, and she reminded me of who I was and said, Jeff, you're a strong person. You are going to make it through this. You're going to get out of the hospital. You're going to get back to being you. And she gave me hope, and I give her a lot of credit. This is, one of the closest people to me besides my family. She was there for me, and she'd been through me, with me, like my friend, through all of the trips to the hospital. The second trip to the hospital in the coma, they said my family had to say goodbye. Friends had to say goodbye because they didn't know if I was going to wake up. So she was on her way out of the country with her husband, Barry, and she had to come to the hospital on the way to the airport and say goodbye to me. And I just can't imagine I put myself in her shoes. I can't even imagine how that would feel. If it was roles were reversed and I came in and I saw her lying on a bed in a coma and I had to say goodbye before I got on an airplane. And, when I think about it from that standpoint, because alcoholics, as a rule, are very selfish people. It was all about me. It wasn't about anybody else. It was about me. Like, feel bad for me. My drinking is only affecting me. And it's so not true. It's so not true. It affected everybody around me. And so she talked to me, and I had made my resolve, and I got out of the hospital and stayed with my mom for a little bit, and then moved to North Idaho. I was not physically okay, but I still packed my stuff, made multiple trips across the pass, got a storage unit, and just moved, just made it happen because I wanted to be by my kids. My ex-wife had taken my children and moved to Post Falls, and which I didn't. That wasn't a point of contention. We'd already talked about moving to North Idaho. She just did it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to move there too. I want to be by my kids. And so May 1st of 2020 is my sobriety date. And so 5.5 years, about a little more of sobriety. And I don't plan on drinking ever again. I know better than to say I'm cured or that I've figured it all out. I still go to meetings. I still talk to my sponsor. Probably not as much as I should, but I talk to him. And I continue to do the things that I have to do so I can maintain sobriety. And I've changed quite a bit.
I can imagine. I mean,
yeah.
First I would say, dude, congratulations. That's amazing. I think all sorts of addiction, probably way more people than we realize struggle with whatever kinds of addiction. Whether it be drugs or alcohol, whether it be gaming or social media or work or whatever it is. People struggle with addictions, fighting the battle for 5.5 years and winning the battle, not just fighting it, but winning the battle. That's amazing. What would you, because I'm sure, obviously lots and lots of people are in the middle of the battle and maybe not winning the battle. What would you say to those folks right now? You said something earlier about, your friend that was giving you hope. And man, being a hope giver is that's a really big thing to be able to do for somebody. But it kind of made me think there had to be times where you felt like there wasn't hope. I'm a drinker, maybe I don't know if I can win, and someone gives you some hope. What would you say to people that are in that battle right now?
I know that there are folks out there who are in the middle of their battle. And when I was in the middle of mine, I didn't have hope, and I had accepted the fact that I was drinking and it was going to kill me, and that it was just hanging on until I died. And at that point, that's where the selfishness comes out, is the world would be better without me anyways. And it's a very selfish thing to think or say, because there's so many people who love you, and these people. You also figure out how much people actually care about you. People worry about you, they love you more than you even know.
Very true.
And I would say that don't. I know if you've lost hope. I know that you probably already have, and you don't think there's an end. But if you can decide that you're done digging your hole, if you decide that you've hit your rock bottom enough and you're tired of the battle, it's a battle and it's hard work. If you're tired of that, you just want to have hope again, and you want to feel like you did when you were a little kid and you were looking forward to Christmas, those feelings, you want to laugh again. There was years where I never laughed. You want to laugh again. You want to enjoy life, and you don't want to have alcohol attached to it, that there is hope. You take control of your life again. And I'll say this, that I didn't do it on my own. My relationship with God has everything to do with my sobriety today, and not trying to control every aspect of my life, because when I'm in control, it leads to me drinking 24 hours a day. That's what proved to be the case with me. And so I gave everything up to God, and I said, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Just show me the way. Give me a sign. And I would say just follow suggestion, even if you don't want to. In fact, if you don't want to, you really don't want to, do it. Make yourself do it. If somebody says, hey, I'm going to a meeting, do you want to go? And the last place on the world you want to be is that meeting, make yourself go. You can be disgruntled. You can be angry. It's fine, but go. grow. It takes a big person to push through that not wanting to go. Just go. Just follow suggestion. Go. And if you can get into a treatment program, go. Take control of your life again. Get not control, but get your life back. This life that you never thought you'd be able to get back is possible. It's possible to get that life back. And then you value relationships with your family and your friends, and you find out those people who are close to you who really matters. Because I'll tell you this, not one person, not one that I drank with for so many years has reached out to me or spoken to me in a long time, in years, over 5.5 years. You learn that there's people who you care about, and you can focus on those people, and they help you. And you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who want to improve their life. And you go to a meeting and you just sit in the back of the room and don't say anything. Like I would go to meetings and I'd say nothing. I didn't want to partake in the meeting because that meant I was an alcoholic. But then they're so kind and so welcoming and so non-judgmental that I felt like I could open a little bit, a little bit open up and say, I think I'm an alcoholic. And I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And watch your life change. You'll learn about what the promises are. And the promises are not a pipe dream. They're reality. And they come true. And you get to see it happen in front of your own eyes. You'd be in disbelief about the things that are changed in your own life once you take your life back. And there is hope. There is hope.
Yes.
And it's not too late. I seriously was close to death. And it's not too late.
A couple of times. Yeah.
And it's not too late. If people tell you it's too late, you're never going to be able to recover, don't ever talk to that person again. Push those people away. Naysayers just need to go away. You keep people close to you that are like-minded, that want the same things you do, which is to have your life back, to have clarity, to have meaningful, deep relationships with people, to work on turning yourself into somebody who you never thought you could be. And I'm on my journey. Like I'm not anywhere near my ideal for myself, but I'm working on it. I shared a couple pictures with you. I don't know if you're going to show them, but if people out there will be able to see like the progress, and that progress is possible for anybody. And I just hope that, man, if one person has the strength to take their life back, it is worth it for me. Yeah. However many people this reaches, however many people see it, it's worth every minute of my time to try and make a difference. This is not about me. This isn't about me. I don't take credit for my sobriety. I give that to God. I feel like I'm supposed to share my story because somebody else may look at that and go, wow, that guy was bad. He almost died a couple times. It can be better. It can get better. And you can laugh again. And you can enjoy concerts without drinking. You can go to parties and not drink. I love to sing karaoke.
Come on.
I love to sing karaoke. So I go out and I drink and I go out and with people who are drinking and I sing karaoke. I have my Diet Coke and everybody who in this town knows that I don't drink. I drink Diet Coke and I get up and sing. And you think it takes cojones to get up and sing anyways, like you have a couple of drinks, like try doing it sober. Talk about a rush. There's so many things that are just so much better in life. Little things that just get better and just continue to get better. And you start feeling like a sense of accomplishment. When I made it to a month of sobriety, I was like, wow, 30 days. And in the program, if you go to meetings, they give you a chip for that. They reward you for that. You get to 2 months, they give you a chip for that. They reward you, 6 months, you get to a year. And then you put a couple years together. Like when I had 30 days, I thought it was impossible. And then I got to a year and I was like, wow, whole year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A whole year. And then I got to my 5-year point. I'm like, wow, 5 years. Wow. Like maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
Like,
come on.
Like maybe I can,
man.
Maybe I can do this for the rest of my life, And because I've got a map and I've got a box full of tools that I use on a daily basis. And I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't make that decision I made over 5.5 years ago. I would not be sitting here. I would be gone from this world, and it would have been years ago. That was just that's where I was headed.
Yeah. I didn't know you then, but obviously just hearing your story, you were heading there.
Yeah.
You were definitely heading there. What about for, maybe someone that's not in the middle of that battle, but has a friend or, a relative or something that's in the middle?
Sure.
What advice could you give to those people? Because I think there's a lot of us that know people that are in the middle and we don't know how to help.
Sure.
What would you say?
That's a great question. For people who know somebody, a loved one who has a problem, there's a couple things, like you can never make them stop drinking. if drinking is their addiction.
Yeah.
Whatever their addiction is. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, whatever.
Yeah.
You cannot make them stop. And once they make a decision to stop, you can't make them start again. Like, you don't have that kind of power over somebody. You can pray, which I recommend, and you can hope, and then hopefully they get to their rock bottom and they decide and they make that decision. But also to recognize that the person that you knew that before they became an alcoholic, you want that person back. And you just are angry, and it's understandable. You're angry at them. Like, why did you do this to yourself, to your family, to your friends? Why are you doing this to everybody? If they hit their rock bottom and they do what it takes to find sobriety, the alcoholic and the person are combined at that before they make that choice. And then they're broken apart. And the alcoholic gets farther and farther away from the person. And what you're left with, if somebody's taking their program serious, is not who they used to be. It's somebody even better. It's somebody who you don't even recognize. Like, what are you talking about? Like, people, I've got some friends where the husband had an addiction problem, and the wife, she found out about everything. And I just told her, I said, if you leave, I will totally understand. I will support you. But I want to tell you that if you can stand by, if you can be there for him, you're going to get a husband that you don't even recognize, because he's not going back to who he used to be. He's coming back as a better version of himself, because he's doing so much work on himself. And he's trying to stop being so selfish. But he's trying to make himself a better person on a daily basis. And they stayed together, and she told me that I was right. I mean, she thanked me, because she was ready to go. She's like, thank you so much for telling me this stuff, because you're absolutely right. So if you love somebody, you can't make them stop. Pray and hope. And if you spent 4 years with them while they were in their addiction, give them 4 years at their working their hardest on sobriety. And if at that point you still want to make that decision, then that's on you. But I guarantee that after 6 months of somebody who's working hard and they're out of their addiction and they're living a clean life and they're doing everything it takes, that you're going to see somebody who just blows your mind. Like, wow, you don't look anything, sound anything like the person I knew. With a lot of diseases, people want to get back to who they used to be. With cancer, which is horrible, people will say, I just want to get back to who I used to be. Well, alcoholism is different, because you don't want to get back to who you used to be, because that's exactly how you got here.
Yeah.
So you want to get back to a better version of yourself. You actually want to come back better. And that's possible. That's possible to anybody.
Yeah, well, you're sitting here. I mean,
yeah,
come on, good deal.
Yeah, and whatever I can whatever I can do to help anybody is worth it. I think there needs to be more people who would be willing to talk about it, because I think that, like you said earlier, there's a lot of people that we maybe don't even realize who are dealing with some type of addiction. And if those people would step forward and be like, hey, this affected me too, like, you'd be blown away. Some of the most successful in life, in family, in financial, some of the most successful people I know, I met at a meeting, and they have everything together, and they are humble, and they realize they have to continue to do the work. And to see that is like, wow. Like, I don't want to just come back and be this. I want to continue to grow and then come back and be better and better and better and better and try to improve all the time. It's a humbling experience.
Yeah, those are good words, man. Well, gosh dang it, man, thank you for coming on and just being vulnerable and being honest and authentic. I think you nailed it. And if more people could be honest and authentic and real and, just that vulnerable, like, dude, I see where you're at, and this, man, I've got this same struggle, or I've got this same deal, or I've got this, maybe this addiction is different in some way or shape or form, but it's still an addiction. And, we can just, life is tough.
Life is tough.
And it's so much easier when we do life together.
Yeah.
And when we're there for each other and just kind of figuring out how we can help each other and what we can do for each other.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. The tough things in life are still going to be tough, but sometimes they're a little bit easier when you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people, on your side pulling for you.
100%.
Yeah. Good deal. Well, hey, I'm going to put, when this podcast posts, I'm going to put some links below to just avenues that, I'm definitely not an expert on any of these things, but put some avenues down there that might be things you can check out to get help with whatever addiction there is, or maybe you can, kind of learn about what maybe someone who's in the middle of that fight's going through or whatever. So we'll stick those down below. If you know somebody that is kind of in the battle, and share this with them. They could watch it on their own private time, and maybe there's something that maybe there's some hope that's given. Maybe they can relate to something and get something out of it. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you next Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. Bye-bye.